Well, we're live now, so
Yeah.
please no swearing. I feel like Davina McCall doing Big Brother 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, disappointment. Final score: Wrexham 1. Beg your pardon, but did it matter? Stockport County 2, and yeah, first home defeat of the season in a derby. That hurts a bit, doesn't it, Ollie?
Yeah, it does. You know, first half display was essentially the story of the game, wasn't it? And Wrexham have conceded two just highly preventable goals there, where, one's a mistake from the keeper, the other one is the defence having 3 opportunities to clear the lines and not. We deserved to be in the position that we were in at half-time, and although we changed it up in the second half, we were really, really good going forward. I think we failed to perhaps play to the strengths of a new forward. I think we missed Hooper in that sense. We were still playing as if we had Hooper in the side when we didn't. We had a completely different striker. The one time we played balls to him that were suited to him created a really good chance, and just all round a very disappointing afternoon for Wrexham.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go through the events of the day. So Wrexham started off with what looked more like a first choice side. Lots of changes after the game at Hartlepool. Jason Oswell starting against his old team. Somewhat out of the blue, if I'm honest, because he hasn't been starting for quite a while. But anyway. And Wrexham in a pretty even-ish start. Started off reasonably well. Had most of the early half chances. Barnum Bubb coming forwards and feeding a ball, which Harris would have been one-on-one with the keeper had he been able to bring it under control, but his first touch let him down. He'd been tight, but wide, but still, it was a half chance. And then Grant picking the ball up from Summerfield after a good patient move and hitting a left-footed shot from 20 yards that he couldn't get on target. Young putting a free kick in, Pearson winning a header 15 yards out, glancing contact, but too close to the keeper. Then the 20th minute, Stockport scored. I'm not trying to say that it was against run of play, but they were making more chances. Wrexham making more chances. But it was a pattern which would follow throughout the game. Wrexham gave too many free kicks away on the edge of the area, and they got players like Walker and Turnbull with quality from set pieces. And this one, it was a dubious decision, actually, to be fair, against Carrington. I'd like to see it again. It was swung in from the right-hand side. Dibble dropped it. It was a horrible mistake. And the centre-back Palmer latched onto it from a tight angle and headed it in from close range. Dibble tried to stretch back and deny him, but couldn't. And that was a blow. And I know you say goals change games, but to go behind in that manner, I think it hit us quite hard, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. You just look at the way in which Dibble reacted afterwards. You could tell the frustration, the anger at himself for it, because at the minute there was a real battle for that first team shirt, and I think he will have thought to himself, right, I may not start on Tuesday, for example. As a team as a whole, it was a freak goal which we really should have prevented. And then you look at the way we conceded the second, I think it was arguably worse because we actually had opportunity. Mistakes happen in terms of the first, but for the second, you've got 3 or 4 opportunities to close them down, get rid of the ball. And for a side who've looked good when it comes to picking up second balls in the box this season, I'm really surprised to have seen how poor we were with that. Well,
yeah, it was very poorly defended. Oh, by the way, remember you can chip in on live chat if you want to ask us what we thought of the match. So then carrying on, Wrexham did make chances after that, to be fair, and some near misses. Luke Young from 25 yards out had a really powerful contact on a shot which deflected just wide of the left post, and Young put in a corner which Chambers headed over from 10 yards out. And then, in many ways, the highlight of the match, Summerfield from about 25 yards, hitting the most remarkable volley. It was heading inside the left post, and it would have been goal of the season. And Hinchcliffe somehow lunged across and touched it onto the post and away. It was an incredible strike. The ball stayed on the pitch after the rebound. Carrington swept a cross in, and Oswell tried an overhead kick from the penalty spot, which went over. Decent effort that as well. Young hitting in a 20-yarder, which moved viciously, and the keeper parried it awkwardly above his shoulder height. And then Wrexham again coming in. Wrexham looked very narrow throughout this period of play, though. And on this occasion, everybody felt much too narrow, but we managed to work the ball around pretty well, and it ended with Redmond's picking the ball up and hitting a 20-yard drive, which was under hit and easy for the keeper to take. So lots of pressure from us in that period. But like I said, we just felt too narrow. Harrison Grant coming inside to join Redmond and Oswell. No width to stick crosses in for Oswell. And, we were on top of the game, but it was hard to create.
Yeah, it was. And, that was perhaps one of the most frustrating things, really, because we were talking before the game on the commentary that, with the players around Jason Oswell, we should have enough to really be threatening going forward. And, in theory, we should have been, really. But it's so frustrating and disappointing to see that Wrexham couldn't craft those opportunities for Oswell. He's not a new signing. He's a player they've trained with week in, week out. They should know his traits. They should be able to adapt to a different centre forward. I think they were, like I said before, I think they were playing as if JJ Hooper was playing up front, not Jason Oswell. And I don't know if it's because they were so they've got that thinking so cemented in them this season, because we looked lost when we brought Hooper off on Monday as well, that perhaps they struggled to adapt to that. In the second half, we were starting to get better balls towards Jason Oswell, and we could have damaged Stockport. I mean, in terms of the movement, especially in the box in the second half, where I think it was Harris who played a really good ball and judged Oswell's movement, and he managed to get a shot away and win a corner. That's what we should have been seeing a lot more regularly today.
It was notable, I thought, wasn't it? Straight from the start of the second half, we were playing different types of service in for Oswell, driving more direct diagonal balls into him at the start of the half, although that faded out a bit, I thought. And I think it was really clear that, they've been told you didn't follow instructions in the first half. You didn't feed Oswell in the correct way. But, and Oswell battled, but was fairly peripheral in the first half. He'd come into it more in the second. Wrexham then, from that point, were lucky not to go 2 down when Osborne carried it forwards well and fed it down the right channel. A good ball to Thomas, and he drove it across Dibble, who made a very good save low to his right. It was heading to the bottom corner. Strong hand, pushed it away. Wrexham went up the other end, and Barnum Bob caused a problem with a cross which Hinchcliffe dropped onto the centre-back Keane. It was lucky it ricocheted to him and then bounced back for him to pick up. And then in the 39th minute, 2-0 to Stockport. Again, a free kick. We gave too many free kicks away. And it was floated in by Turnbull. I thought he'd overhit it at first and put it out for a goal kick. But it was chased well round the back by Palmer, who headed it back in there. There was a massive scramble during which Dibble made at least one save, and it was a magnificent reflex save on his goal line. Minahan had a shot which was blocked on the line. It span back out to him, and he smashed it in. And it was awful defending from a set piece, wasn't it? Let's be honest, Ollie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of that delivery, same as you. I really thought, he's overhit this. It was a perfect place for a shot. I thought, well, that's a real waste of an opportunity. And then, obviously, it comes back across. But, as I've said, it shouldn't have conceded that goal. It's such a... when you see Dibble's first mistake back, you'll think, that's a horror mistake. And it is. But the worst one is the second for me. It's inexcusable in terms of its defending. Yeah,
the first error is... Goalkeepers make mistakes sometimes and drop the ball. It was a real shame, but that's life. That happens. Yeah. The second one, the defence just were totally undone by that delivery in, weren't they? So that wasn't great. We had a few questions coming in, which we'll address in a moment, but we'll just go through the rest of the details of the match. At the end of the half, or so, just after that, Wrexham again were in danger. Free kick swung in from Turnbull, and Bell 8 yards out heading it over the bar, and he could have done better. Wrexham did have some threat at the end of the half, though. Nice long passage of pressure, ending with Summerfield hitting a 25-yarder, 2 straight, which keeper saved easily. And then Barnum Bob swinging in a cross, which saw Grant overhead kick after Oswell had scrapped to make a loose ball at 6-yard box. But unfortunately, Grant's overhead kick, which was on target and might have troubled the keeper, hit Oswell and ricocheted away. So the second half, Wrexham went more direct, didn't they? And, initially, but really piled on the pressure. And the second half was attack against defence, essentially, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, as James said, at one point it was more just all the game being played in the last 35 yards of the pitch. And to be fair to Wrexham, they took the game to them, dominated them. But, you could only get that one goal. So we started off, corner half cleared. The ball dropped back out to Chambers, who did well when it was played back in to turn his man and hits a terrific shot on the turn from 15 yards across the keeper. Looked like the keeper tipped it around the post for a second brilliant save, but the goal kick was given. Wrexham were furious, and then Summerfield bursting into the box. A great run by him, standing it up to the far post. Grant on the sprint, just about managed to keep it in from a narrow angle, hit it on target on the volley. Keane cleared it off the line. Wrexham claimed it across the line. We suspected not. On the hour mark, Stockport had a breakaway and won a corner. Dibble punched it clear. Turnbull from the edge of the box drove his shot off target, but ricocheted off a Stockport player into the goal mouth, and there was a little scramble before Chambers could tidy it up. And then Wrexham at the other end, corner half cleared. Summerfield playing the little ball into the box, and it was driven in, but he saved pretty comfortably from Harris. Next minute, Summerfield winning the ball well, playing a lovely little 1-2 with Oswell. Probably should have popped it back to Oswell straight away and put him one-on-one with the keeper instead of hit another 20-yarder, which the keeper fumbled but kept out. And Wrexham were just knocking on the door and it wouldn't go in, would it?
No, it wouldn't. And, I said after about a minute of the second half kicking off, I said Wrexham looked like they're playing with a lot more urgency. They just seem different in the way in which they're approaching. And, yeah, it's the story of that second half was the ball is somewhere in Stockport's half. Stockport generally, other than the striker Niall Bell, are all behind the ball, and it's going to be a game of, right, let's see if you can break us down. And Wrexham couldn't until the 83rd, 84th minute.
Yeah. And then after that, the floodgates opened, and no doubt part of it was Tollick coming on. Ben Tollick came on and made a massive influence on the left-hand side, although just before he came on, it could have been 3-0 Minahan, the right back, getting forwards, playing a 1-2 with Thomas and then pulling it back for him, and Thomas should have scored 6 yards out, blazed it over the bar. Immediately Tollick came on and things really started looking threatening. McIntosh already come on up front as well. Surprisingly, Oswell made way. He'd been hard working up front. Tollis, soon after he came on, beating his man. He was constantly beating his men and feeding a sharp ball into Harris, who had a clear sight of goal, but his shot was blocked. Just his first touch wasn't quite crisp enough. Then Harris, with an absolutely tremendous ball to Grant in the right channel, he drove it across the keeper. Another very good save by Hinchcliffe to turn it around the post. Tollett from 25 yards out, hitting the bar after beating his man with an absolutely brilliant strike. And then with 5 minutes left, Wrexham pulled one back, and it was a fine goal. Luke Summerfield again prompting from deep. Great ball between the left back and the centre back. Sent McIntosh in. The keeper came out to the edge of the area. McIntosh beat him to it. His touch took him very wide, but he finished superbly into the empty net from a tight angle. Brilliant goal by McIntosh, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. The ball from Summerfield was just outstanding, wasn't it? Hinchcliffe is probably he spilled the ball a couple of times when there was no danger. Other than that, he made some absolutely amazing saves, particularly from Summerfield's shot in the first half. However, he did misjudge the situation with McIntosh. He rushed out of his goal, was stranded when McIntosh took it round him. I'm really impressed with the shot because he was just near the byline at that point. Yeah. I think he was also right side of the box. I don't think he was inside the box at all. So, yeah, he's slid the shot at goal, kissed the post, and then, in the back of the net. Really good goal, good work from him. I think it's important for McIntosh in terms of getting his first goal for the club as well, because obviously he got a couple in pre-season, but for your striker's confidence, as we were talking earlier, before the game started, we were saying, when a striker gets that first goal, it's a huge sigh of relief. So for McIntosh, hopefully we see a few confident and assured performances going forward after getting that first goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we were set up then, 85th minute, and Wrexham roaring forward, sent Pearson up front, already gone 4-2-4, sent Pearson up front as well, and had chances. Free kick in the deep, but Grant blazed it over the bar. Barnum Bob swinging in across, which was half clear to Grant, standing on a penalty spot, and he swung at that and volleyed it well over the bar. Then leaving the back door open, Curran bursting through the middle in the last minute. Had a good sight of goal, but didn't get the best contact, and Dibble was able to save it. And then in the 4 minutes of added time, 3 chances for Wrexham. Firstly, Tollis cutting in and swinging across at the far post that was going in. Hinchcliffe had to get around quickly to push it around the post. Then Barnum Bob popping the ball into the box again for Pearson, 6 yards out, getting up but not being able to get proper contact and putting it over the bar. And in the 4th minute of added time, it was, a chance at the other end. Thomas, as Wrexham left themselves undermanned at the back, getting the clear sight of goal, but Barn and Bob able to clear it off the line. Well, okay. Tardood asking, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Home.
Good call. I'm not sure he means that.
In terms of where the Wrexham go from here, I mean, it's a really... it's difficult because we've got the personnel. I firmly believe that the manager will make a call in terms of what he feels he needs to improve in this team, whether that's changing the shape, changing the way in which we approach games. We've got a very quick turnaround for Tuesday's game against Maidenhead. Maidenhead are a side who, and this is probably a big compliment from me, although it's backhanded, I don't know how they're still in this league, because every time I've seen us play them, they have been woeful, but they pick up results and they do well. I think they've won again today as well. So we go into the Maidenhead game. If you tinker, do you tinker? Again, it's what the manager is thinking. I know Colin will be getting his thoughts for the club YouTube channel. That'll be out tonight. And again, it's one of those where it's a question where I'm not too sure personally.
I mean, James and I had a good chat after. I think I might put out as a separate podcast. We sort of felt that we had the players maybe in a different shape to do better than this. And so I'll put that up separately, but I certainly think we've got a lot of decent attacking options, and maybe it's how we do this. I think using Redmond as a number 10 who just isn't expected to track back is dangerous, and we're getting outnumbered in midfield. Summerfield and Young, I think, often, I think it illustrates it, played well, but they lack that third man to support them, which maybe is actually all right, but I don't know. And Danny Dockett, now maybe Duckett, I beg your pardon, Danny. Talking about that does feed into this as well, if we're playing slightly the wrong shape, because Danny's very clear in what he thinks. He thinks that sacked after today, sorry, but not good. Going nowhere, the Ozzy has to go the pits. Lads, he has to go. Need experience here. I'm not inclined to jump into that so quickly at all. I've got Danny, sorry. Having said that, I do think that we need to rejig our shape here and reorganise how we're playing here, and I think he has to get that right, because I think the calls for he used to go are massively premature, but we saw with Brian Little at the start of our first season in the National League that once a few results go wrong, things can spiral out of control very, very quickly. So we do need to quickly correct this. Yeah,
I think the manager can correct it. I wouldn't at all suggest letting the manager go, because, well, for a start, that's hugely disruptive and means you tear up your plans for pre-season. And second of all, if you're getting a manager now who's out of work, well, if they're out of work now, why?
Well, Danny says bring Keats back, so there's an out-of-work manager.
No.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I like Dean a lot. However, no. He built a good, solid defensive base, but in terms of the team that we've got, no.
I love Dean, and I would have him back, but not right now.
No.
Because I think that this is 2 defeats. Hartlepool was very poor. This was giving free kicks away on the edge of the area and then not defending them well. Beyond that, we responded well to that. I'm not delighted. We did lose at home to Stockport. I'm not daft, but it's too soon to be pressing that button, I think.
I've seen a lot of criticism of Carl Darlington as well, but a lot of people then also saying, well, let's bring Keats back. But Carl Darlington was a huge part of Dean's backroom staff.
That's very true.
And was a very big part. I mean, Keats brought Darlington back to the club.
You're not going to have one without the other. That's clear.
You're not. Yeah, it's just not happening. And I think a lot of the criticism of Darlington's unwarranted personally, and I think the criticism of the manager now is quite knee-jerk personally.
I am a massive fan of Keats, but I don't at the moment think that it's the right thing to do with Hughes to get rid at all.
Certainly not.
But like I say, things can spiral, and fans are now understandably unhappy, and fans are asking that question, and Danny's putting the point that a lot of people are putting. So it's out there. It's a news agenda.
If Wrexham are in this position and playing like this and picking up results like we are now in, should we say, end of September, October, then the question is asked, and it's rightfully so. But it's not that point yet, so I wouldn't be asking that question just yet.
Well, let's be honest. Danny's pressing the button now. Fair play. It's your button. Fair enough. It's the thing is we got this. This is the start of that block of home games, which before today we were looking at thinking this is a chance to really get going. Our home form's good and haul ourselves right back up there. Now it becomes, well, we can't afford to be not winning these games because that does create that spiral we're talking about. It's a shame the air game's in the middle of it, because that's not a game maybe we're that fussed over, but it looks bad if you lose it now. You know what I mean? It's...
I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on the team that we play against Air, doesn't it? If we lose that game and we play our reserves and kids, then I don't think anyone's going to bat an eyelid. If we play our first team, then I'd be a little bit concerned.
Tardu there as well asking, will Leighton be back as number one? Well, there's two elements to this. One is whether Dibble stays, one is whether Leighton's the one who comes in. I know it sounds like a stupid comment, but Leighton wasn't on the bench today.
Yes, that was strange.
I don't know why. I'm assuming you don't either.
No, he's fit, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
Yeah. Whether there's been a niggle or something and they're a bit concerned, so they thought there's no point in risking him. I don't know.
I wouldn't have played him on the bench anyway if he wasn't fit in the last couple of games.
But yeah. Well, maybe something an injury or
they already have.
Not quite.
I know he's. If Leighton's fit, there's a real chance he may play on Tuesday. I think, personally.
I mean, I think Dibble's done very well, and I felt sorry for him. I feel sorry for him after what happened today. He didn't do it deliberately. Notts County one was a different matter. It was more of a misjudgment. This is just bad handling. I feel really sorry for him, but that's the sort of things that. He was in possession, and he's not going to lose his place. But when things like that happen, then he could do, couldn't he?
My question for you, Mark, in all seriousness, and you could say, no, that's preposterous. When you're a manager and you start a goalkeeper and he's giving you no excuse to drop him, and so you don't.
Yeah.
And you've got a player of the season, fantastic goalkeeper in Rob Leighton, who you aren't playing.
Yeah.
Does the first time that goalkeeper who's playing give you an excuse, do you use that to switch them?
No, but then Notts County was the first one, and now this is the second one. I guess is how you could look at it. I'm very sympathetic to Dibble. I like him a lot, and my heart says he's been doing well, and you don't panic. Yeah. But if Leighton is fit, this was worse than Notts County. This was a bad mistake, and I don't know. It opens up that possibility. If Leighton's fit, who knows? Dibble's been unlucky with the timing of injuries and the timing of people coming back. With Dunn coming back at the same time as him when he got injured 2 seasons ago. Maybe he's going to get lucky with timing here. Maybe Hughes might drop him, but Leighton's got a little niggle, so he's not going to throw him back, and Dibble keeps holding on to the place. Who knows? I'm just making it up now. It's just pure speculation.
Let's just play Hispanic.
So, I have the man of the match because James, who summarised during the commentary, has handed over his decision, and he went for Bobby Grant. What do you reckon? Just thinks about it.
Not a bad call, if I'm being honest. I think he played well. He was pretty tenacious. I'd agree with you on that. It's very difficult to pick a man of the match because the first half is so firmly in my mind, but.
Summerfield, I thought, played a lot of good balls into the box as well, didn't he? Prompted very well.
Yeah, for me, Summerfield, now you mention it, because he pulled the strings in midfield and played really well there. In the second half, when he was given that space, he played really well. I thought Young played well as well.
Yeah, Young was full of energy.
And especially, you could see from Summerfield's work rate in the second half when he latched onto what most players would call a hopeless ball to get forward and run onto. To get inside the box, and can't remember if he had a shot or if he played it across the face, but Summerfield really impressed me, and that's from a player who over the last 2 or 3 games I've really not been impressed with.
Carrington was the other player that James mentioned as a contender. He had a solid game again and tried to get forwards a lot in the second half. Won some good tackles. Bar balls, so there were quite a lot of decent performances. It was odd in a game like this.
A lot of good individual performances. Second half they played well, but again weren't able to really break them down until we did.
And we're allowed to play well because Stockport did pull themselves back, didn't they? And let us come at them. So I suppose you've got to be realistic, I suppose, and I've got to say that, haven't I? They did let us take control of the game, and that did allow Young and Summerfield to look comfortable because they were no longer outnumbering them in the middle of the pitch. But yeah. It's
frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah,
More than anything.
Tollett looked good when he came on. A shame that he messed up the switch at the end for the very last breakaway. He had a chance to switch and he put off the pitch. But Tollett's made a heck of a difference, and I think should have been on sooner.
Well, that's the story of his Wrexham career, isn't it? Should have been on sooner. When he started games, he's played well. He scored a few goals for us last season. I think he'll be a big player for us if we can play him in the right way. If we may well change the system, and it may suit him, it may not. That's if we do change the system. I think Tollett will be a big player for us. I think in terms of bringing him on was far too late. He should have arguably come on at half time, if not the first 10-15 minutes of the second half. Came on, looked really good. Fullbacks looked a little bit scared of him when he was running up.
Oh yeah, he was just constantly beating. When he got the ball, he beat a man straight away. He was constantly beating the first man. He's so dangerous, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of those players who, if he's having a bad game, he's the easiest player on the pitch to dispossess. If he's having a good game like he did today, he's unplayable. It looked really good. It was a shame for him at the end there if he'd have managed that pass, because Stockport did look a little bit exposed as well when that pass went out of play.
Yeah.
But again, that was his work rate of winning the ball in his own half and breaking forward, wasn't it? So, yeah, Tollett played really well. May well be worthy of a start as well on Tuesday night. We'll
wrap it up, but we've got one more question to look at. Tardood saying, do you think Chambers has unbalanced the defence?
I think Chambers has balanced the defence, the left foot and the right foot, and the way he plays. I know we're lumping the target man on Chambers, but I still think he's looked solid, personally.
I think he's got a lot of very good attributes, and there's a key centre-back in there, but he's not quite there at the moment. Mind you, I mean, let's be honest, you could argue Lawler's unbalancing defence. He keeps leaving us a man short. Lawler's place is there to be scrapped for because he's got himself 2 red cards. But Chambers, I think he's got some good attributes, but he's not quite there yet. And I think he's a player that if you work on, I think could come good, but he's not quite. He's a bit scratchy for me still at the moment. Gives away too many free kicks, trying to intercept, stretching around the side of people. Doesn't get the ball as solidly clear as maybe he should do, and gets his feet mixed up sometimes. But he also has some very good attributes and does some good things. So that's a good question. Thank you, Tardood. Thank you for the great commentary. I was going to say we enjoyed it. Well, in a way, we enjoyed it because we enjoyed doing the commentaries, but it's not much fun when Wrexham loses it, let's be honest. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna walk home now.
In a straight line.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks very much for watching, or if you're listening to the podcast, or if you're using our new Smell-O-Vision, sniffing this post-match analysis. And with that, I think I'd better clear off.
I smell of disappointment.
The smell of grimness, which is my new fragrance. I'd actually just released a new fragrance. You'll smell it too. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm here all week.